that broke through the deck.
We're good.
I'm glad we didn't have that. My daughter's been out of power for a day and a half, and she was running it on a little 8-horse generator. Every 2.5 hours, getting up, filling the tank. It wasn't very fun. So I think there's a lot of stories like that. Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Certification and compliance with open meeting law.
Yes.
Approval of the meeting agenda.
I would like to pull the peer registration out of the consent agenda. And also just the Booth Lake Park report, so it's a little additional update.
So pull it out for later.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from, okay, yes, go ahead.
I would like to table 10A, which is the discussion and possible actions regarding not mailing the newsletter.
So take it out of the agenda is what you're suggesting, basically.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Okay, so then I will make a motion to approve the agenda, but remove F1, the Somerset Marine Pier registration, and the Booth Lake Memorial Park from the consent agenda, and remove new business 10A.
Okay, I thought consent agenda was next.
No, she has to
They
approve
rolled
the
it on.
The
agenda.
agenda.
Okay.
With
I'm
those-
approving the agenda, the meeting agenda with those
That-
3 edits.
Can I ask that the park report be pulled out of the consent agenda? Because I have 2 things to add.
So the park committee report.
Yes.
So we've got F1, H, I, and then tabling 10A.
So 10H, 5H, I am just adding 2 things to it.
Yeah, but we'll just pull it out and talk.
Yeah, that's fine.
So-
Right, then I will modify my motion to also remove 5H, the park committee report.
And we'll talk about it during the section 8, report of departments. Does that make sense? Just put it in there. All right. You have a second?
Second.
I think Brian did.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? All right, motion passes. So then we go to the clerk treasurer's report.
First, the consent agenda.
Oh, that's right, we need to approve the consent agenda now, yes.
So I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as modified.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? Motion carries. So now we're on to the clerk treasurer's report.
So there's not a treasurer report or financial report this month. However, we did have a successful election. We didn't have any problems when we took stuff to county. We got an A+, and things ran smoothly. Sherry and I worked as a team, well-oiled machine. So it went really well.
So, do we know when we'll have the
Yep.
financial report?
We should have one in May. I had some problems with Cassell, some reversing entries and stuff, so. They've been working with me to get some things corrected from 25 and then for 26.
Oh, 25.
Yes, well, we have to have that wrapped up for the audit. That's taking place, what, in
On the first week of May,
first week of May? So,
and then the financial report at the annual meeting on Tuesday.
on Tuesday. So that'll be the 2025 annual report on Tuesday. All right.
I have a question for
Yes, sir.
the clerk treasurer. How many people voted on election day?
1,729.
Thank you.
Wow.
We had 46 people register that day. We had 505 absentee ballots processed. And Anything else you can think of, Sherry? Yeah, no glitches.
I'm a numbers girl, are you?
No, I just had to wait for it to load in, and I'm like, okay, load in, and then make sure it was right, so, yeah, no. I'm not really those.
Okay, so are you finished then?
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go into public comments. Let me read the statement. Please be advised that per state statute 19.84, sub 2, information may be received from the public. Comments are limited to a 4-minute period per person. Be further advised that there will be no discussion on the information received and no action will be taken regarding public comments. Upon conclusion of the citizen participation segment, members of the audience are not allowed further comment unless they are participating in a public hearing or if specifically allowed by a majority vote of the town board due to involvement in a specific agenda item. So with that, do I have a, there you go, sir.
My name is Tom Manman. I'm an engineer and estimator for asphalt contractors. You will obviously have a bid in front of you tonight to decide on for the road work this year. In the past 6 years I've been bidding, twice we have been denied awarding the bid even though we were the low bid. There certainly must be a feeling that we're not qualified to work for you folks. Last year, or in this bid, I wrote in 6 municipalities who worked for us successfully last year. This year, I already have contracts with the town of Burlington, town of Lyons, town of Delbin, 2 for the village of Salem Lake, city of Burlington, city of Union Grove, and downtown Lake Geneva for over a total of $12 million. We've, as some may know, when I had the BRM and Sons Company on Elkhorn, we did decades of work for this company, and I've been training our crews to be able to do this type of work. And they have been successful. We have lake mounted equipment and all the things I think you would want. This last year, we were even awarded a national paving award for some paving we did in Tennessee. We don't only just pave in Wisconsin. So I'd like to make that comment. Hope you would consider it if it's local tonight.
Okay, thank you.
What was the company?
Asphalt contractors, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's out of Union Grove?
Union Grove.
Yep. Do we have another public, go ahead,
Yeah.
yeah, it's better. And you need to state your name, the whole drill.
Alex Jartowski, 250 East Wisconsin Avenue. I'm here today representing the owners of what is the Lindy's property, which is subject to the road right-of-way issue that you'll be deciding today, or discussing today. I did have a productive discussion, I think, with Attorney Mills a few weeks ago. However, reading through the material, I have to make clear that a 49.5-foot right-of-way is just going to be a non-starter. That road, Beach Road, where it exists on that property, exists by a prescriptive easement. It's never been dedicated. Nothing has ever happened to it in all these years. And when you have a road that exists by prescriptive easement, it is by use. And so that additional footage would be quite detrimental to my client, and it's just going to be a non-starter there. We calculate the value of that additional land is close to somewhere in the 7-figure range of valuation between the properties. I just thought that information would be helpful. We would really encourage the board to take a look at the settlement agreement before you and consider it strongly. We want to resolve this issue preferably without having to have a vote to do. And we understand that 49.5 feet is about state funding, but at this point, we're looking at it as what you own at the moment and just regularizing everything. And then, further action could come, I suppose, from this board, but we would just appreciate the consideration. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Ken Zess, West 598 Wellswood Road. I'm here tonight regarding agenda items 10E and F referencing public right-of-way usage at Lake Lane and Chairman Jones's traffic information detailing his rationale and justification for the Potters Lake Management District, continuing the current practice of utilizing this public right-of-way for the offloading of aquatic plant waste. Chairman Jones contacted the town superintendent of public works, the building inspector, and the chairman of the planning commission to help guide his decision. I'm here to give the board the taxpayer's perspective. Chairman Jones has determined that the town's DPW has not maintained this platted road right away and has no interest in maintaining or developing it in the future. Therefore, the town has no use for this deeded roadway. Chairman Jones has proposed the board discuss and possibly authorize a survey of the right-of-way area. Chairman Jones has proposed the board discuss and possibly authorize Attorney Mills' draft an agreement between the management district and the town of East Troy for the continued use of this right-of-way. I object to this plan for the following reasons. The taxpayers own this right-of-way, and as elected representatives, it is your duty to do what is in the best interest of all the taxpayers, not just the needs of the management district. The chairman's proposed plan has the town's taxpayers paying the associated fees concerning the survey and then draft an agreement enabling Potters Lake Management District to continue operating their mechanical lake weed harvesting equipment, and only a select group of taxpayers are getting any value for the investment of time and resources paid for by all the taxpayers. Just because a practice or action has transpired for years does not legitimize the practice or action. It is not legal to occupy this public road right-of-way, or any right-of-way, as the management district has done for years. This public right-of-way has R2 and C4 zoning. Neither zoning allows lake management aquatic plant harvesting equipment as a principal use or a conditional use. Chairman Jones has a unique interest in the outcome of this proposed solution. He is a riparian owner on Potters Lake, and his wife is a commissioner on the Potters Lake Management District Board. In his evaluation of the topic and subsequent written proposals, he is attempting to guide the board in a direction that is favorable to the management district. Recently, there has been talk of a public fishing pier. Now imagine a dual-use site that encompasses both the offloading of aquatic plant waste and a public fishing pier. With thorough planning and shared financial cooperation, the town's taxpayers and the management district could create a solution that is mutually beneficial. Any agreement that includes this goal, I can support. The current proposal is contrary to that goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have public comments?
Nicole Hudson, W1721 South Shore Drive. Good evening and thank you for the opportunity to speak. First, I want to address the repeated references to the Beulah Responsible Voters, or BRV, of many meetings. Many of us in the community have attempted to understand who or what this group actually is. They are not a registered organization with the state of Wisconsin or the federal government. They have no identifiable leadership, no published mission, no website, no public-facing documentation, and no verifiable subject matter expertise that has been found. In short, there is no institutional transparency and no demonstrable qualifications that would allow citizens to assess their credibility. Given that, I'm deeply concerned that BRV has been repeatedly described by Chairman Jones as the entity that will provide an educational course for voters and develop an app with a map of the lake bed, an app for which no public vetting or review has been made available, despite the fact that voting season has already begun with the opening of the launch. These are not trivial undertakings. They require technical competence, scientific accuracy, liability awareness, organizational accountability, and broad distribution of information. Without any public record of BRV's expertise, credentials, or governance, assigning them quasi-official responsibilities creates the appearance of delegating public safety and public information to an unvetted, unverified, and publicly unidentifiable body. That's not good governance, and it is not fair to the citizens who rely on transparent and qualified decision-making. Second, I want to speak to the Ehlers presentation from March 9th. As a resident who has heard repeated concerns from Chairman Jones about budget constraints, I'm struggling to understand why the town is moving forward with a consulting engagement with no documented price cap. The proposal outlines a $6,500 base fee covering 2 board meetings with $1,000 per additional meeting, a referendum planning fee of $4,500, and from there on, it is $250 per hour for budgeting review and recommendations. If I recall correctly, I ran out of time looking through all the meeting notes, there was approximately $25,000 available for this type of work and other work, though the culvert project, I believe, also impacted finances. Even without extra board meetings or town meetings, the base fees already total $11,000, leaving roughly $14,000 in that $25,000 bucket. At $250 per hour, that equates to 56 hours, which is barely a week and a half of one person's full-time work, or about 14 hours per person if a four-person team is involved. That's not a large margin, and with billing occurring at the completion of the project based on the proposal that was in the last packet, the town risks an unexpectedly high final cost. So I'm asking plainly, why is the town proceeding without a defined cost ceiling? And why is this work being outsourced when the interim town supervisor was selected specifically for his ability to handle capital planning during his 2-month term? If the town board had confidence in that appointment, why was this work not completed internally, and why is it now being shifted to an external consultant at a premium rate? Third, I want to extend a sincere thank you to the election team. From my personal experience, the process was very smooth, professional, and welcoming, and it's always a pleasure to stop in, and your work deserves recognition. I share these concerns because our community deserves decisions that are grounded in clarity, credibility, and public trust. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comments?
Sherry Reilly in 9481 Island Drive. Nicole took away a little bit of some of the things that I wanted to talk about, but I will kind of start where she ended off. So I did work on election night, and I also want to say that it is a true pleasure to work with that team back there. And I've also worked with Kim in the past, and what I have come to realize about these gals, whoever they may be, they are truly the backbone of the town. And they're the ones that are the face of the town every single day, every single evening, sitting at these events. And oftentimes I don't think they get enough recognition, so I'd like to take just a moment and give them both an applause. The next thing, and again, my usual statement is going to have to do something with wakeboarding. The 2 newly elected or will be newly elected members of the board are sitting here tonight, so I think I'm kind of speaking to the current board as it sits and then the new board coming on. On May 9th, there was a motion made to table the wakeboarding issue until 2027. My biggest fear about that is it's tending to just kick the can down, and we need that continual reminder and things that are going on. I know there is an agenda item, I believe it's like agenda item 8B, where the chief is going to speak about how the phone calls coming in are going to be handled. That is a wonderful step in the right direction. What I am concerned about, and again, Nicole brought it up about the whatever the acronym is, I'm not even sure what it is. And I, like Nicole, tried to find anything about them. And I would think that for an agency that is talked about in the town board minutes and in many opportunities, the fact that we know so very little about what they are planning and what they are doing, I think is a very concerning issue. The second part of that is...
Are you speaking about Ellers?
BRB.
No.
BRB, whatever
What's the acronym? Beulah Responsible.
There we go.
I'm just trying to
And
understand.
I tried, I searched online, I searched on Facebook, and I am truly coming from a place of positiveness. You know, things were decided, and I want to go with that. But if we don't even know what they are planning, it just sends out red flags all over the place. And then what I wanted to also say was, I think Michelle Reyes made the motion back on March 9th, and it was just really, really vague. And I would like to have that kind of reformed a little bit to say exactly what we are looking for this boating season. Again, the chief is going to be talking about, you know, calls going in. And yes, there's going to be buoy placement, but what bothers me is, and it was talked about on that March meeting, that, boy, we all know that it doesn't belong on Mill Pond, but yet it's still on Mill Lake, it's still there. And those buoys have been at the 200-foot level for a really, really long time, I think at least 3 years, and nothing was really changed. So just some of those things that we can clean up that language. And I would just like to end with, I was searching, I'm an antique dealer, and I went to talk with somebody on Lake Geneva. They're concerned about wake boats on Lake Geneva. So I did a little research, and I just want to end with a conclusion of Lake Geneva's management plan. And you can just substitute Lake Beulah for this, but it's a nice little paragraph. Geneva Lake has significant economic, aesthetic, quality of life, and ecological value. Protecting these values requires active management and dedicated stakeholders. We are depending upon lake residents, Lake Geneva Conservancy, Lake Geneva Association, Lake Geneva Environmental Agency, blah, 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 blah. It sounds like they are collaborating with everybody that has a concern for the lake. And I would really implore everybody, old board, new board, to truly work together.
Okay.
North 31 Stearns Ridge Road, John Stills. I'd like to congratulate the two candidates that got duly elected here, Brian Ponce and Ben Smith. It's a tough road getting on the board. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication, hard work. And I just want the community to know that the CF1 forms were not properly done in a timely manner for the candidates that won the election. And if I remember correctly, they put out 4 or 5 flyers and they spent a lot of money. And God bless them, I'm glad they spent the money, I'm glad they had fun with it. But we do not need to go back to Klarkowski 2.0. If they govern in a transparent and honest and a forthright manner, God bless them, welcome them with open arms. But if we go back to the Klarkowski 2.0 era, they're gonna hear about it.
Sorry. Okay.
Bob Rice, W884 Shorewood Drive, East Troy. I wasn't going to say anything this evening, but felt the need with the wakeboat comments and just the things that are happening on our lakes. I've been privileged and blessed to be able to live on a lake my entire life. Things have changed. I'm 54 years old. When I grew up, we attended boater safety courses, not online, but in person. And I would urge the people, the management districts, Protect Lake Beulah, to maybe do a boater safety course. You know, common courtesies aren't taught online. Everyone uses the lake in a different way, whether it's sailing, water skiing, wakeboarding, paddleboarding, fishing. Everyone uses the lake in a different way. And if we could bring some of those people together in a room to see eye to eye, so that someone who doesn't fish, someone who doesn't sail or wakeboat can say, hey, this is what I like or this is what I don't like when it's happening on the lake. We're using resources. We've got complaint forms that the chief of police is going to start filing or taking from residents of the lake. It's not just a problem with wakeboats. It's common courtesies that aren't being applied when people are out on the water, and they need to take responsibility for it.
Anyone else?
John Becker, W1958, Pastime Lane. There's a topic that I've been very concerned about with this town for years. It's not wakeboarding right now, but the subject is junk. And I use that as a loose term, but junk throughout the town. Visible junk. Buildings that are inadequate or in bad repair or something of that sort. And I think we're all guilty of allowing that to happen. I think the board is guilty. I think the chairman is guilty. I think the population is guilty, and I'm guilty, because we tolerate it. And I don't think we should be tolerating it. Now, for example, if you go out Highway J or Highway L, maybe a half mile past Potter's Lake, there's a dwelling there that is really bad. It's got junk cars in the front of it. I've talked to the county about that. I've talked to the town. It goes on for 10 years now. Essentially, nothing gets done. Looks the same as it did years back. Junk. So we get used to that, and people see it and say, well, that's how it is in East Troy. You come closer to the proposed hotel here, you see a gaping hole in the building. You see the building be pretty derelict and not in good shape. Should be condemned, should be demolished. That should be done years ago. It goes on and on and on. Nothing gets done, and we accept it. So if we don't like it, we're all guilty of that. You can go down other places in the town and find the same situation. For example, by Linda Zerner's place, I think John has a truck parked there, right on the property line. And on top of the truck is another truck, a tanker. I mean, that doesn't look good. It's junky, and it really deteriorates from the property. All these places, they look like that. There's ordinances that are being violated, and nothing's being done, and we're all tolerating it. And we shouldn't be doing that. So I think it's about time. We have a new board now, new opportunity to step in and enforce the ordinances, clean things up, and make sure we all can be proud of the town of East Troy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We will move on to department reports. Superintendent Shield.
Just two things to touch on tonight. If Attorney Mills, you can chime in here on the resolution, if you could.
Well, you're talking about the,
Yep.
okay, I was at a district meeting, I guess is what it's called, or whatever, training. And Joe from Government Affairs with the Wisconsin Towns Association basically made a plea. We've had a budget surplus, so there's been a lot of effort by Wisconsin Towns Association to get some of that money and give it for DPW purposes.
Just to clarify, the surplus is at the state level.
At the state level, right. We don't understand. Thank you, I didn't mean to imply that. But the point is that they've done, they call it Just Fix It, was their campaign over the last couple of years. They've increased some money, there's actually 30 million for that small
Structures. Yeah.
small structure things,
Yeah.
even though we don't qualify because it's gotta be a 2, 3 or less, 3 or less.
3 or less.
But anyway, they've gotten a lot of money put towards DPW projects. What they're asking for with this is for us to adopt a resolution, which is in the packet. It's 2 pages. We can adjust it. I would suggest whatever, if it's not, doesn't make legal sense, Attorney Mills, I would say we can adjust it. What they want is this approved by the board, and they're trying to get this from every community in the state, and then going to the legislators as well to try and boost the funding, because we need them to make a decisive action to give us more money, or it's going to start dropping off. So that's the purpose of this going in.
Yeah, it's more for what they've come up with, the new small structure program in the last 2 years. It's actually surprising that they're already trying to give us money for that. They didn't think that was gonna happen for a while.
Yeah.
And they actually pulled it out of a program that they started 3 years ago, the ARIP program, which is the Agricultural Road Improvement Program. They pulled some money out of that for the small structure program. And they're trying to help the smaller municipalities out, and this is just kind of streamlining so everybody's on the same page. Everybody goes to writing the grants and everything for
The
it.
small structures, the culverts, there's been, a 2-year effort to get them all recorded, inspected at the state level, and it's sort of been it just hasn't been, anybody's paid attention to it. So effectively what happened is there's all kinds of 0, 1s, and 2s.
Yeah.
they're falling apart, crumbling, and so therefore our fours aren't getting consideration for it. It's a little frustrating, but it's nice to at least see the money being made available, and maybe in the future we can make that happen.
Yeah, they're gonna take care of the worst structures first, so that maybe some of the ones that aren't quite so bad, we can get some kind of funding for repairs, replacement.
And I guess I would just say, just informationally, so this is coming from the Wisconsin Towns Association.
Yep,
This is a great resource for the towns. They represent all of the small towns across the state. Like both Joe and Todd had mentioned, they work to evenly distribute the money that the state has and make sure that at least the towns get their share. They understand the challenges towns are facing, and, you know, as well as schools and other fire districts and things like that. But they're a great resource that we, as board members, are all in contact with, and they have regular meetings, and so, and they have their own team of attorneys as well, so I mean, that's who drafted this resolution.
So, all we need is a motion to authorize Attorney Mills just to review this, make sure it's what we want it to say, and then we can sign it and send it off to our legislator, so.
I'll make a motion for attorney, to authorize Attorney Mills to review the Wisconsin Towns Association Department of Public Works resolution, and for it to be sent, I believe the resolution is protect local roads. And that came from the Wisconsin Towns Association, where I believe it is Joe Cook.
I think it says Joe Ruth on here.
Joe Ruth, that's it,
That's it.
Joe Ruth. Couldn't think of his name right off the top. He is an attorney. Carol Norwicki is an attorney up there. There's quite a few, and he actually lobbies down at the Wisconsin State Capitol for small towns. So I think it's a good support. So
I'll second that motion.
So we do have a second. Any other commentary on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You got one more?
Yep. We sent out for our 2026 summer roadworks, for some new roadwork, old roadwork, and some seal coating. And unfortunately, we're starting a process called hot in place asphalt recycling. He had a emergency that came up, he wasn't able to get his bid in time, so we're gonna have to send it back out, so we can get that back. But we have some prices for once that process is done. But for our new road work, Honey Creek Road, we tried for the last 3 years doing an agricultural road improvement grant. We got shot down from it, so we actually split it up for the last 3 years. So we did a third 2 years ago, a third last year, and we did the last third on Honey Creek Road this year. From Miller Road up to Bell School Road. It's about just a little over a mile and a half. We had 4 bids come in. First one, Wolf Paving, at $440,108.60. Payne and Nolan came in at $414,624.75. Start Paving came in at $378,409 even. And we had asphalt contractors come in at $358,380. So they would be our low bid. So it'll be up to the board to discuss and see if you want to take it. The only thing I have is, in the past years, the town's never worked with them. In 26 years I've been here, I really don't know their quality of work. And Tommy Evans here, he can stand up for and say, he said what he needed to do, but like I said, I've never seen the quality. They've never done any road work for us. A couple of municipalities, last year had some bad words to say, but he was here, but still up to you guys.
Since we met this afternoon and talked about the Deal Heights project, and then we were talking about this briefly, I didn't know what level of research was gonna be done.
Yeah.
I just did a quick Google search just to see. And there were some Better Business Bureau complaints that came out against asphalt contractors. There was one that is unresolved from 2017. There was one from 11/17/23 and 8/6/2024, both not very favorable. What I did is I kind of did a search on asphalt contractors versus Stark Paving, since they're the two low bids, and just asked for a comparison. And the recommendation I got off of Google, and again, it's not this isn't scientific, but I'm just going to give you the feedback that I did get. For large commercial grade work, Stark Pavement appears more specialized. For smaller residential jobs, review current local references for both firms directly, as Asphalt Contractor Inc.'s reviews are quite varied. And so that's all I have. I did a quick Google search.
Is that an AI summary?
Yeah, but I went off and went to BBB. I went and looked at that. Since it flagged it, I went and looked at what BBB, and I pulled them right off of Better Business Bureau.
Yeah, just, the town has never, since, I don't, Tom, how long, just on subject, how long has Asphalt Contractors been in business?
About 46 years. And I'll just say that I think you'll find that Better Business, we do hundreds of driveways a year, and on all municipal jobs I've bid the last 7 years, none of those were, I believe, everything you see there, we do seal coats, driveways, and all that. And I think if you research it, it's residential, not commercial highway.
It's just been, in the 26 years I've been here, they've never done any road work for us. First, it's usually been Stark Paving and Wolf that has done all the road work in the past.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
the board has to generally award the low bidder if they're deemed to be a responsible bidder. In our bid documents, we try to flush out what is needed to be a responsible bidder, including job references, the types of work. I think with the earlier statements that were made, the board's gonna have to balance some of the concerns that Todd raised with the statements and explanation that the bidder made. I guess I would ask, if you're able, to inform the board regarding the municipal complaints that you received.
Okay, yeah, I can do some more research. I know one was here in Walworth County and one was in Racine County. I will get in contact. We can table this until another meeting, maybe a special meeting. Because I know the contractors are gonna wanna get it on their schedule when they can. So I'll do, I can dig in a little more and get you actual,
We are later in the month here, so May,
Yeah.
is that still
yeah.
Not very long before another meeting.
another 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to table it.
I will make a motion that we table the awarding tonight of the 2026 road work contract,
New road work.
For new.
the new road work contract,
Over 2,000 jobs a year.
as we
So
acquire additional information from our Department of Public Works.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then we have
Old road.
some old road work that we're doing, seal coating on Hams Road and Colville Road. We had 2 bids come in. Scott Construction, $54,839.49. And Farner Construction at $46,379.05. Those are the only 2 that bid, and the low bid would have been from Farner Construction.
And we've worked with both.
Yep, we worked with both. They've both done work for us in the past, quite often.
So I'll make a motion to approve Farmer Construction for old road work at $46,379.05.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the next one, I believe, but I should probably table too, seeing as how, they did not, the hot in place part of it was not able to get the bid in. So the second one really, unless we can award it to them, Jim, this is a question maybe for you. If the process doesn't get done through the hot in place, then the two bids, we wouldn't use them.
The main issue is hot in place is an entirely different process. Aren't the other two
They're just seal coating too.
sealed?
Because you gotta
Oh,
So
so
we'll
it
have
is-
to have both. We'll have to have someone do the,
Yep, it's two processes, two
The
separate
hot in
processes,
place.
yeah.
and then we'll need the seal coating.
Oh.
That was specified in the bid?
There are two separate bids. Yeah, the
And so
hot,
no one bid on the hot in place.
correct.
Okay.
So that's.
So we
the way
could pick,
Table
We
this.
could pick it or we can table it.
because then it's whenever we
Well, you
get
can
it.
table, you're gonna have to table the hot in place.
That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
definite, yep. 'Cause we don't
And the
have-
seal coating is dependent on the hot in place.
Yes.
I see.
least
That's
half.
the second half. You gotta do the hot in place first and then just seal
Okay.
coating.
Then yes, you'd have to table.
Well, I'll make a motion that we table the seal coating, bid award for 2026.
I'll second it.
On the hot and cold, or just one.
Well, the hot in place, we can't make a decision because we don't have a
We
bid,
don't have a
right?
bid.
So,
But in essence, aren't we tabling both of them?
Yes.
Okay.
You just said you can't really award the one until we have a hot in place.
If we get a
if we
bid.
get a hot in place.
So,
So there's no hot in place bid to take action on today.
No.
Exactly. So it needs to be
Table.
tabled or sent out again.
It's gotta get, we're
It'll
not
be sent out again.
yeah.
I'm just not sure what we're tabling if we have no data.
And if we have to send it out.
Yeah, you do.
So, do
So
we
let's-
have to do something with it here to get it sent out again? Is it matter,
No.
instead of tape?
Not for the hot in place process, because we can just send it out for bid again.
I do think you need to make a motion because we did have bids on the other part that had, today is the bid award date.
Potential.
Okay.
So I'll amend my motion to include the hot in place being tabled, even though it's impossible to act on it tonight.
And that's why it's being tabled.
I will second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So, table. Are we gonna let these contractors know then?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Anything else? Yes, sir.
On the agenda, I was asked to discuss the POB, electronic reporting. That was in place last year, and I'm gonna read exactly my response, because POB did reach out to me and asked if I was still okay with it. And this is gonna be my exact response. I have no problem with receiving information electronically. We do that all the time. That's not part of my email. People call in and emailing complaints and situations all the time to the police department. Some of it we can act upon, and some of it we can't because it's just time delayed. Telling me that there's a speeding boat on Sunday afternoon, and I get that Monday morning at 6 a.m. Great information to have, but there's not much I can do about it. So continuing. However, not every incident reported may be followed up on or acted upon. It may be information for the officers to look for or be mindful of when they're on patrol. So just because you submit a complaint electronically doesn't necessarily mean that the police boat's gonna be zooming that way right then and there. It may be that we're just making the officers aware, hey, on this side of the lake, this is the activity that citizens are reporting to us. How about if we maybe pay a little bit more special attention to that generalized area? So again, I like receiving information any way we can, phone calls and that. And I just want to reiterate, this gives me an opportunity. If you have a situation going on, please call. Please call the 3700 number. Please call 911 if it is an emergency. Don't wait till the next day. If you see a suspicious car or a suspicious boat or you hear something go bump in the middle of the night, call us then, because the next day there's not much we can do about it. So I just reiterate that to all our citizens. That's what we're here for. That's what we want to do for you. Call us when you hear something go thump in the middle of the night, or you see lights that shouldn't be there, or you think, hey, my neighbor's not back yet from Florida, why is there a white van backed up to the front door? Call us. We're happy to find out why the white van's backed up to the front door. So, yes, I hope that answers most of the questions about that and how we're gonna respond to any, not just PLB, but any complaints we get, whether it be received by dispatch or sent via email or sent via text.
Will the 3700 number, which is what you said to call, right? Will, if the boat patrol person is on duty at that time, does it go to them, or how
Goes
does
to
it?
the dispatch center.
Oh, dispatch, meaning the
Yep.
county?
Yes. So I use the 3700 number as in just a non-emergent complaint is generally how that line would be used. Just like the sheriff's office has their 741-4400 line, you can call in a complaint to the 4400 line at the sheriff's office. That's not an emergency complaint because the neighbor's dog is at your house. You don't dial 911 for that. You just call the regular landline and report that. So that's why I say the 3700. It's an
Okay.
emergency, 911 is wholly appropriate.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next, the item we pulled out, the peer permit.
Yep.
So a little background, real quick. Received this peer permit for the property at W1762 South Shore Drive. When I went out to the property to take a gander, looking over the materials that were submitted with some photographs, and then I started doing my research, I found that there was a pier that was installed that was never pier permitted. And I also found there was an expansion of a pier/swim platform that was never permitted also. Those were, two structures were established on that property in 2023, and we never got pier permits for that. I did issue the owner of the property ordinance violations for those, and he has been in contact with us to resolve that. But for what we have in front of us, the pier permit, I think is wholly appropriate, and it's just a better configuration and makes sense to me. And I spoke with Somerset Marine, and I believe they made an adjustment of 10 feet. So instead of being a total of 70 feet, it's going to be a total of 60 feet into the water, which is something we both agreed upon after being out there. So it's going to be extend no further than what the current pier is that is there, and you can kind of see the overlay in their picture that they attached.
But I believe we've had other piers that came through. And the chapter 1610 says that the pier should extend no further than to a point where the water is 3 feet at its
Correct, and
max
if you
depth.
look at the chart, that's why they took 10 feet off, is because I looked at the depth chart, I called Somerset and said, can't be 70, we need to bring it back. So that's what we agreed upon is the 60 foot.
It's all the way, it takes all the way to 60 foot to get to 3 feet?
Yep. In that area, according to the chart the same chart that we've been using back and forth for depth charts and that for the wake boat stuff, and I use the same one. So, yep, it gets to 3.5, 4 feet at that point.
Is this in a sensitive area?
No.
Okay.
So it's not like it's just trying to avoid the weeds or whatever, you know,
Correct.
getting out of the weeds or
No.
anything, it's the actual.
No, and he's got plenty of frontage.
Right, that was, yeah, just like
He's
more than 50 feet,
well more, almost 200 feet.
193, yeah.
So you're talking about this pier is no farther out than the T pier that's already
No,
in.
you're looking at the old one.
Oh.
But if you look at the new one, he overlaid, and you can see on the overlay, it looks like it extends, we eliminated that 10 foot.
Yeah.
And you can't go to 70, you can go to 60. And I talked about it with their pier designer, Lou, and we agreed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing that.
Then I will make a motion to approve the peer registration form for Steve Menza at W1762 South Shore Drive with the 60-foot
Correct.
adjustment.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Alan, are these permanent piers?
This would be a permanent pier, yeah.
Is that the trend now?
It is.
Okay. I think that's,
So planning commission, there is no report, but is this where I can just do a quick little update on Blue Lake
oh yeah, I
from there? Yeah,
forgot that.
so, oh, this is good, yeah, this is
It's
for
right
the
at the end.
lady.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's perfect.
I just thought it was fun. I was at the Booth Lake meeting last night and there was a big project and they have pretty much completed all of the insulation and siding and new windows on the building there at Booth Lake for both the home and the concessions. The only thing left to do is the deck. And so if you get a chance, take a drive by. And the cost, I mean, the people that are, the park managers and their family and friends actually did all the work themselves. So for a project like that, windows, insulation and siding, it was under $35,000 because of their own labor. So they're saving lots of money for the community and they're doing a great job. They've already got all the staff for this summer, which is challenging, right, to find lifeguards and.
They got all the lifeguards in here? Because I heard
Yeah.
that was a toughie.
And they're doing all the training, they're certified trainers. So just wanted a little shout out to the Booth Lake Committee, and it's a great resource in our communities. So I hope everyone enjoys and appreciates it.
Very good. So we pulled, make sure before we move on, we got the Somerset, we did the park committee.
Oh,
Did
we haven't done that.
did
No,
you
no.
respond? You-
We need to do the part.
So then you go before we wrap this up.
Okay. I asked for the park committee consent agenda to be pulled because I am identifying the number of reservations that we get each month for the park. We currently have 4 that they have submitted their certificates of insurance Attorney Mills created a waiver for us to use so that we are released from liability, which is a huge step in the right direction, which we haven't done previously. They have, again, paid the reservation fee, which we didn't previously have. So I think it's important that we keep track of how many reservations we are having, so that's why I asked that to be pulled. The other reason I asked it to be pulled was the completion of the Vision 2026 Park and Open Space project. I'd like to thank Ken Zess, who is the citizen representative on that committee. He and I and DPW Superintendent Shield, as well as Heather Larson, went through and double-checked the forms. We found 24 identified Town of East Troy pieces. We could not verify acreage or ownership on all of them, but we did what we could on all of those. Heather provided a document for us that identified Army Lake, Potter Lake, and Lake Beulah in terms of acreage, ownership, and GIS location. So it's very specific. And tomorrow I will scan it to Chairman Jones, the completed documents, as well as Richard Huff at the Walworth County DPW.
All I can say is thank you, because this came in, what, month and a half ago?
Month and a half ago.
Something like that, so it took a little investigation. I appreciate all the help.
It is due sometime in May. We completed it early, so we'll get that in tomorrow.
Yeah. Very good.
The other thing, Barb, I saw in the newsletter, an update on the Adirondack chair. Is there a date where it can be brought over?
We are looking at the high school has not yet, we have not coordinated with the high school to bring the chair over. Citizen member Zess and I will be identifying an area where we want the chair mounted for the DPW. Once that is defined, because I think yesterday we decided that Mr. Zess and I will do some park cleanup to make the photo much better. We are looking to coordinate with the high school to have a soft opening and then to do the grand presentation the July 5th during the farmer's market.
Yeah.
So we have something in the work that we will identify probably next month for the board as to all of the bells and whistles that we're going to do to promote the Adirondack chair.
Very fun. Thank you.
Chairman Phillips? Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to make note that Heather Larson is our part-time staffer in the office, and she's been instrumental in helping with special projects such as this.
Anything else?
I have nothing at this time.
All right, so then we'll move on to 9A. We received a letter from Daniel Bach at Lawton Cates, and it's regarding the Wilmer's Landing survey that was done. It was received on March 12th, and all I was looking to do was hand this off to Attorney Mills to respond to the letter at this point.
And that's all I was looking for. It's been a while, and if nothing else, I need to acknowledge receipt of it.
Right.
And maybe identify that at this point in time, it's not the town's position to put a fishing pier on this little triangle of land that's referenced in the letter.
So I'll make a motion to authorize Attorney Mills to investigate and respond to the Daniel P. Bach, Lawton Cates attorney letter dated 3/12/26.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. So why did this come up? I'm not exactly sure how this came up, or, it just,
Good intentions always get rewarded. If you remember, I don't remember the month, I think you brought the idea of a public fishing pier. It was handed back to LDMD.
I didn't know it was handed out, BMD.
Well,
Todd Jones, yeah.
Todd
took it.
Jones was here and took it on, so I didn't hand it, but it was taken on by him. It was discussed, and then I think it was you and Chief Gorecki that identified this piece of land over here that was suggested.
Had no further.
Okay, Chief Gorecki, I know I was trying to get something identified, and so this land was identified, and before we could put any pier in any of that property, it was authorized by the board, and I don't, again, remember when, but it was probably August, when we authorized the survey of that property, so that we knew exactly what we had and what we could do with the pier. Well, the survey came back with discoveries of this specific meets and bounds description of the property, which ends up cutting off this triangle. It's not something we went out to find, it was something that came back on the survey, so therefore, I think this letter was submitted to say that they're not in agreement. So I think we need to respond to that. Right? Does that sum it up?
I mean, if nothing else, just for professional courtesy.
Right. Anything else?
I guess not.
Okay, so we have a first and a second, I think?
Yes.
So any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The second item was, and you'll recall this from meetings ago, where the county came back and said that we don't recognize a survey by B2G indicating this is 66 feet right of way. Given that, I tried to do some quick research, hoping we could find a document that just clearly spelled it out. The two surveys that are online for this property do not specifically specify that, so at that time, it was, we approved, Attorney Mills and myself, to continue looking into this and try and come up with an agreement or an approach. Since that time, we received a letter, and I don't know if I have that in here. I think
This
that
one
might-
from county in January,
Yes, that's,
all the way back to, yeah, January.
so I started it, I think it was February, when that's probably when the meeting took place that approved us to continue looking at it. So that's the county letter. And then, in the meantime, I got a letter from the owner that proposed a settlement agreement and a survey that was provided as well. And again, I don't remember the dates when this came in, it's been going on since January. And so we decided to
The proposed, if I may, the proposed agreement that was apparently drafted by, doesn't say drafted by, but it has Mr. Tyson's signature line on it.
Yep.
It has a March 2026 indication, so we're not that delinquent in responding.
Thank you for saving me. I thought this was going back to February.
But I guess, like, just the letter from county seems pretty black and white. It says the 66-foot right-of-way for the small section of Beach Road between East Shore Road and Beach Lane will be immediately changed to 33 feet.
I don't know why that came out. It's
Right.
contrary to statutes and case law.
Based on the official documentation maintained by Walworth County.
Yeah, I need to follow up.
There's been multiple discussions with the person on the GIS. The GIS individual is working with the treasurer department, which deeds go in the register of deeds. And then these kind of surveys and stuff must lie with the treasurer's office. I don't know why I have to go to both those places, but nonetheless, he relies on her to give him information.
Okay.
This was the initial reaction, and then I think there was a later email that came out from him, again, probably March, that basically said, the word I got from treasurer was, we can't find anything, so therefore statute such and such dictates, I think, 49.
Do you have copies of whatever you've received?
Yes,
that
I
you
do.
Share?
Absolutely. So it's 49 and a half, and he said, I'm gonna put the GIS back to 49 and a half, pending whatever you guys talk about.
Okay.
So there's a lot of back and forth history, and I think it just needs to be, I can't take it any further. It's just, it's nowhere else I can go with it, so.
I also did not get a copy of that initial letter that might have accompanied this draft agreement.
Okay.
If I can get that.
I can give you all the stuff. Not a big deal. I think it might have been an email.
And I know that Attorney Tributowski, Alex spoke earlier, and he and I did have a conversation on the phone, and I said, I need board authorization
Right.
before I can really do anything on this issue. So that's why it's on the agenda.
Yeah, the issue is, the board, the government is supposed to respond to requests. This has come in, and so it's coming before the board to authorize Attorney Mills to, I guess, respond, negotiate, whatever that would be.
Well, I would like the motion to state exactly what's written here.
On the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Supervisor Church.
I have a few questions. Do we, as a board, need to discuss with Attorney Mills our vision? Because to change the roadsides, you know, we're talking about an intersection down there that is near the lake, that has a storm sewer, that has a culvert on East Shore that several residents I have heard from personally are concerned that that culvert is sinking, and I worry about, you know, making that area smaller. The car sizes, the truck sizes that travel through that intersection are not getting smaller, they're getting bigger. I worry about our snowplow, you know, trying to navigate a corner that's sharper and do their job safely. So I have some concerns over this, and I know that this affects our transportation aids, which we can't afford to have reduced money toward road work.
I would encourage any board member to contact me with concerns or questions they have, because I will have to come back to the board at some point in time with a recommendation. I want to address board member concerns.
Those are the.
Even going into negotiation, I'd like to know what they are.
Right. And I've had discussions with them. We've discussed it a few times to try and get to some resolution on it, and I think it just needs to be, it just needs to go into the legal realm to see what is possible and what can we achieve. So if
I just find it curious that the letter from county says that, that in 2023 it was
Yeah,
never
that's,
finished.
it used to be on the GIS as a 33-foot right-of-way. That's what it used to be. And if you look at the rest of the road, most of the road is 30 or 33-foot right-of-way. If you go up the GIS, that's what's on it. So a good part of the road is already 30 and 33. So again, I've exhausted my ability.
however, and I know there's reference in the agreement to some platted subdivisions where the right-of-way was established apparently, which I want to double check myself. But for something that is not laid out and recorded, but used as a public highway for more than 10 years, there's still a presumption that it's 3 or 4 rods. 3 rods would be the 49.5. 4 would be the regular presumption that a road right away is 66 feet. Now, we can't have it at 66. The board has to have a reason, even to back off of a presumption. But we know it was never 4 rods and can't be 4 rods because when you look at what that measures out to be, that was cutting into part of the building that had been there for decades.
Right.
Right.
So we know it's less than that. So as part of my wanting board authorization, it's one to acknowledge that the board needs to do something to come off of that 66. But I need to do a little bit more investigation and hear what the board wants before I go into negotiating some sort of counteroffer.
And referencing the 66 foot, which doesn't seem reasonable, that's not what our transportation aid has been based on, is it?
No, 49.5.
Okay.
So it's got to
So
read.
then I will make a motion to authorize Attorney Mills.
Put, if you would, to research and negotiate.
To research and negotiate the right-of-way issue on Beach Road, parcel PET 9000001DF,
And bring a
and
recommendation.
bring a final recommendation back to the board for approval.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian seconded. Any additional discussion?
So it is okay for us to contact you, or are you going to reach out and contact us?
No, the board can always reach out.
Okay.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We are tabling 10A per the agenda approval. So, what I have done is,
Two already drafted the
Excuse me.
appointments for the.
yeah, well,
Board
last year,
members.
the
Make it
discussion
happen.
The discussion was this stuff should be happening in April, so I took the initiative to
Thank
do
you.
so.
For doing that.
I believe that's what the ordinance says.
Yes, I understand. So what I've done is contacted everybody that was impacted. We have 2 new supervisors that I needed to talk with, and so they both have been informed this is where they're gonna sit. And then I contacted the people that were on the planning commission, and they were willing to Annie up again for 3 years. So the only person that would be new here is I was contacted by a gentleman by the name of Jake Roy, who expressed some interest. He said, I'm not a zoning expert, but he's had rentals and other things. He's had to do renovations and different things where he's run across zoning, and he's seems very interested in learning. So he's been put on the alternate list. I did get contacted by one additional person after this was already submitted for the packet, which I still have to get back to.
Well, you
So-
sent him an email.
I did send him an email,
Yeah.
but I said I would look into it further, so I think I still have that as an action. But I think this represents, and one thing that I would bring up at this point is Supervisor Church made a comment to the clerk treasurer regarding our emergency preparedness. And I do think we have
Plan.
I guess it's a plan.
Yeah.
It's got specific titles and what are supposed to be done. There's actually what you're responsible for. There's a list of responsibilities. I think we should probably try and have a meeting where we
I
just,
was going to ask that we put that on a future agenda because I know that it was updated by Supervisor Wales and sent to the county and approved by the county. But if we don't know what needs to happen, that's bad on us. And I think that to be proactive is an insurance policy we cannot afford to miss.
I agree with you 100%. I think that was done by Supervisor Wales 3 years ago? 2?
Probably
Three.
3.
Yeah, so since 3 years ago,
Right.
there really hasn't been an awful lot done. I mean, simple things like, where's the command center?
Right.
Where do we report? What are each of our responsibilities? I don't think that's been very clearly laid out at any point.
No, and we need to include the DPW, the office staff,
Yep.
the police department, and probably the fire chief DeGaro
Yep.
in our planning, just so that we know from the town of East Troy what we need to do and who needs to do it and where is it done.
Are you proposing this as a,
Future agenda item.
okay,
Just a discussion, and it looks like that will be the first assignment for Supervisor Pons as the CEO of Emergency Government when he takes office.
I was just trying to find a means to make it fit the agenda.
Yeah, no, it was for a future agenda.
Notice.
Yeah.
So we did have it, we got a draft copy from another municipality. We updated it for approval because we had to submit it to county for approval at that time. The only thing that has really been done of any substance is I do try to keep up with the parks for the camps. If they have a change, because sometimes they're locked facilities and things like that. I've tried to keep up with the contact information for those. However, we've never moved forward with anything else as far as a strategic plan. And in light of the recent weather, I think it's very prudent that we do this.
Okay,
Well,
so
I will
appointments.
make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-8, approving the town board appointments.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any other, yes, ma'am?
I would like to discuss the ETA ESD representatives. I believe that when we had a vacancy on the supervisor's road, that you would not consider former Supervisor Booker because he had been voted out. If that is the case, Supervisor Leonard was also voted out, and I would like to see Ken Zess retain that spot. And as a reporter who's covered tens of fire districts throughout the state of Illinois, I know historically there is a retired or a former firefighter who sits on the board of trustees who offers the historical perspective as well as what the members who came before their vision for what they perceive to be the department going forward. And I think Ken has a lot to offer in that regard, and I would like that to be considered.
Okay, so what I would propose I would do is I will talk with Supervisor Fonz and we can discuss it. Is that fair?
Yep.
And then we can come up with maybe some suggestions or thoughts about whether Ken stays on or not.
I thought the discussion regarding Supervisor Walker was to be
On the board.
interim supervisor.
It was,
Not a
but he
citizen
was not to
participant.
be considered because he had been voted out in the previous election.
As a
Well,
supervisor.
Supervisor Leonard has also been voted out going forward,
So we're
so
not asking him to be a supervisor.
I'm not on the Board of Trustees. And I think that Ken would reflect that perspective uniquely. And since he has sat on town governance up to this point, I would like to see him be considered to keep that position.
Okay, we will talk about it.
Thank you.
So, did you approve it, or did?
We do have a motion and a second.
Okay, any other comments, thoughts? All right.
It can always be amended in the future. if
Right,
needed.
it can be updated.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, the next one should be, I hope, really simple. We get things in the mail, it's a casino notice. I did the math, looked at it, 40 to 45 miles away in Kenosha. I don't see how it has an impact on us as a community. I talked with the village, and they were gonna put this on the board agenda as well for discussion. The expectation is we don't have to take any action on this at all. We can just let it lie, or if you have issue, and I sent this to everyone, oh my God, 2 weeks ago. So if there's any comments that you have that you want to send, otherwise we'll just table it. Do we need to have a
No,
motion?
just don't take any action at all.
No, so just like, no action. All right,
Awesome.
is that good? All right. The next thing on the list is discussion of possible action to waive the boat launch fee to approximately 40 Channel residents impacted by the Beulah Heights Culvert Project. I received an email from a resident, and I generally talk with a few people. I don't know how many people will take advantage of this, but the comment was, when we go down with the channel, we're gonna lock the waterway out. These people have to have a way to get on. It seems a little unfair to charge them a fee at the boat launch when they could have just come out of their channel. So that's the reason I told him I would put his request on the board agenda and ask for the board to offer any commentary and approve or disapprove of that request. We did have a brief update. We had a pre-construction meeting today. It looks like the 27th of April is targeted to be where that waterway is going to be shut down. We're going to go out with an update tomorrow to the public, and then try and put out an update every week on that project, so everybody knows what's going on.
Do we have a timeline of any sort?
We have a timeline we discussed today. It's being finalized after this pre-construction meeting. I think we do have well, I can't talk, can I talk about all this right now? It's related to this, I guess, huh?
Yeah, you can, it's
Yeah.
related enough.
The culvert is tentatively scheduled for, and don't quote me, I don't have my notes in front of me, but like the 7th or the 11th of May is when that's due in. We have to get a temporary road put through. There's a lot of electrical, gas. There's a lot to be going on, and it seems like the utilities are lagging a little bit here. We need to get that, and that was the thrust of the meeting today, was let's get it here and get whoever needs to be on this, on notice to get this done. So the hope is that we're gonna be started here on the 27th, not the hope, that's the plan. And they're gonna start, I think it's the 24th, 25th, they're gonna start bringing in gravel and start setting up that temporary road. And then they'll go into the 27th that week, and that's when they're constructing it, shutting down the waterway.
One other comment I heard from a resident was, in addition to the boat launch, like if there's a line or if it's backed up or anything like that, if, you know, they could, since they don't have to park, they may not have to park, if they could kind of skip the line or any of that kind of etiquette on that. I don't know what kind of etiquette there is there at the launch.
Where's the chief when you need him?
As riparian owners, they were looking for a little convenience there in the line.
That seems a bit much and maybe subject to what's going on down there.
Right.
That's not even on the agenda.
No, no. So do we, what does everybody feel about offering a free pass for the duration of the project to be pulled?
I think that that's a reasonable request by the Beulah Heights people. I mean, they're being inconvenienced, and we are dealing with construction, and God forbid any more rain.
The rain is having an impact.
I truly believe that,
Yeah.
and that's why construction timelines are at God's will.
Yes, it's subject to change, but
Well, this was supposed to be done last fall, or last spring.
yeah. But getting it started and getting this done and getting a commitment out of the culvert manufacturer, I think are two big steps at moving this forward, so.
I would agree.
So do I have a motion to waive the boat launch fee for those? And I put a map in here so you can see what the channel looks like. And we did a kind of a rough count. It's like 40, somewhere's in that neighborhood. I don't anticipate, I don't know if everybody would take us up on this, but they would have to come through you to
Yeah,
request
and
it.
we could likely issue them an annual pass that is tied to a license plate.
Okay, and then this is 3 streets. So Beulah Heights, Austin Road, and Bacavi, I believe, are the 3 that I see on this. So I think that's, we would limit it to that if everybody's agreeable, so.
I will make the motion that the town of East Troy waive the boat launch fees to approximately 40 Channel residents impacted by the Beulah Heights culvert replacement construction project. The streets are to include Beulah Heights, Austin Road, and Bacavi Way for the duration of the project or the season, depending on which happens first.
Oh, I hope it's not. We will be run out of town if it's the season, so.
I'll second.
All right, any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. Motion carries. All right, now we get to the Lake Lane project. First of all, I will offer some commentary about this. Yes, I do live on Broadway. I did not bring this issue to the board. Ken Zest brought this issue to the board, and we heard from him earlier today. What I did is I talked with Superintendent Shield. I talked with Vince Budiak, our inspections person. I spoke with Joel Cook, who is in charge of he's the chair of the Planning Commission. I went everywhere I could. I spoke with the chairperson of PRD, And effectively, I heard this has been this way for 40 plus years. It also, there was very little interest, talking with Superintendent Shield, I don't want to put any words in his mouth, but there was very little interest. We plow to the end of that road, and that whole area that's being used is being maintained and taken care of by the PLPRD. The PLPRD also has 2 parcels of wetland right next door to that's quite large. So they're obviously wetland, they can't be used for this type of activity. So where I look at this, I'm told on the Lake Beulah side of things that we should pay attention to the value that that lake brings and all the property values and all that stuff, what that it does for the town. Well, if it's fair there, it's fair for Potter's Lake. What they're doing with this piece of property is they have a conveyor and they park a harvester into that conveyor. It only is there during the summer months. They are taking care of the lake as per their charter as a district, lake district. And for the town, that's reasonably important for tourism and everything else, values and everything else. Second thing is there's a utility pole already on site there with a light that lights the area. There's a shed there. They're both being paid for and taken care of by the PLPRD for the better part of 40 years or so. And they mow the lawn. We do not plow or mow or maintain any of that property through Superintendent Shield. So when I looked at it, okay, a fair comment was made, should the town put money into putting together an agreement or a survey and things like that. My personal assessment, and it's up to the board to assess in this, for these 2 agenda items, E and F. What I was told is, Attorney Mills said, without a survey, we cannot put any kind of agreement on this parcel because it needs to be defined. So that was the purpose for going to a survey. With the simplistic lines on it, I have a hard time believing it's going to be much over $500 for that survey. The second thing is I drafted an agreement based upon a land use agreement we got from the DNR. I went through it, tweaked it up. I given it to Attorney Mills, and so the hope would be its review, make sure it covers all the aspects legally that the town needs covered, and then it would be recommended back to the board for signature. I think there is willingness on the part of PLPRD to help with the survey if that's deemed what needs to happen. This was really a non-issue until it was brought to the board. So I'll open it up for any commentary. Yes, sir.
I did find that the town had entered into a permissive use agreement not that long ago when it came to storage sheds in the town park with the soccer association. So there is some language there that could be adopted and included in any sort of agreement if the board decides to go in that direction. That's all I wanted to say. We have done it. There is draft language already out there.
So if we
And
don't,
that wouldn't include a survey. I mean, I do feel like the survey seems like an unnecessary expense.
Well, I don't know, depending on what the board does, I guess my recommendation might change if this is supposed to be an indefinite use. Then if we do a permissive use agreement that has a meets and bounds legal description of the property, it could be recorded at county. But I don't know if this is meant to be an indefinite thing or not.
Well, to keep it simple, yeah, I was thinking like, do we just give them a permit to park it there, right? Like, so, or could we do a 10-year agreement or something like
Is
that
there-
for them to?
That's what this.
You could do a 10-year. Is there something more than just the weed harvester?
There's a shed.
There's a shed there, there's a light pole that they're paying the electrical bill on, so if the town wants to take that over, they have to pay the electric bill.
The conveyor's there.
Right, the conveyor sits on the property,
Property, the harvester's in the bar.
and then the dump truck would go under the conveyor when it's offloading, so that it's only on there while it's offloading.
Right.
Otherwise, it sits with a shed, a light utility pole, and a conveyor that's right off the shore.
Have there been any sort of, I hate to even throw it out there, but since it came up, junk complaints about that parcel of land before?
I don't know of any.
Okay.
Is it that end, it's all swamp?
Okay.
Right. Yeah, you probably know, you're on that end of it.
Supervisor Church.
Yes, ma'am, sorry.
Does a lease include a waiver for the town of liability in the event of somebody getting hurt?
Yeah, this, like I said, I just took a land use, so there's indemnity, there's insurance, there, all the factors, I think that the DNR would require is in this. Again, I just tweaked it and put it with PLPRD to try and minimize the expense to the town. To put
What
some-
sort of coverage limits for insurance?
I didn't, this, it's for you to establish. I just grabbed, this doesn't have coverage limits. A certificate of insurance demonstrating adequate liability coverage.
Is this parcel correctly zoned? Do we have any zoning issues? I believe I heard in public comments, Mr. Zuss referred to it having C4.
Not C4, he
What did
said.
he say?
He said R2, oh, he did say C4, R2 and C4.
Yep. So do we have zoning issues that need to be cleaned up?
They could be, I asked Chairman Cook, he didn't, I don't know, it was in a passing conversation, I don't know that he dug into it, but he didn't flag any, but we can look into that, we can look into that as part of this. Yes, ma'am.
So depending on if it sits on the parcel next to the house that has N8960, that is all R2 property. Across the road is where the C4 is.
Right, so there's a property there, and the last house on the road
Yep.
is Dale and Kathy Marciniak, I think, right? And so that's the last one we plow to. Then there's a small lot where there's a gentleman that likes to come down to fish. He's got a shed on it, and that's all he does. He doesn't, there's not a
That's
house
all
there.
R2.
And then the next one to that is the piece that's the end of the road.
And that's all R2.
That's R2.
Yeah, all of that is R2. When you get across the road, it's C4.
And that is wetland that's owned by PLPRD, I believe, up to a certain point. There is some town of East Troy in there,
Yes.
but all of that wetland is owned by PLPRD, and that's just the hold to land. So I don't know, this is initial discussion with Attorney Mills, that's why I put this together this way. If there's some other direction that you suggest, that's fine with me too.
No, I think if moving forward, we're going to do what's always been done, we should at least have some documentation that said the town authorized it.
Well, shouldn't we first check and make sure that the zoning is correct? I mean, to have the weed harvester sit there, doesn't it require a park zoning? I'm not sure. I do not have the black book in front of me.
In the water.
It's just a conveyor. That's-
It's just
The
a
conveyor is
conveyor.
on mine, but the harvester is in the water.
We can check it as part of the motion, right? We can check the zoning, and if the zoning is correct, you're indicating it's
R2.
R2, so that would, I would think that would allow, I don't know that off the top of my head. Maybe Mr. Smith knows that off the top of his head. But anyway, so we can check that out as part of the activity here.
And how long are we defining this lease for?
I believe the draft is a 10-year.
Okay.
That means like every 10 years, you gotta revisit this. Somebody's gotta remember to revisit it.
Yeah, PRD. Put it on their schedule to come back.
Okay. The next group. So anyway, that's,
Or you have a survey done and record it, and then it can be, as long as it's above water.
the DNR typically does like 5 or 10 year, and then they, at the end of that, it can be longer.
Sure.
And so effectively, we've had probably a 30-year unofficial lease at this point, or agreement. So,
I just want ways to make it simple, like.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Well, is there
So-
any consideration of Mr. Zessa's idea of a fishing pier? I mean, is there 50 feet of frontage out there where that can be done?
No, there's not, there's enough room for the conveyor that sits there, and then there's a walkway to go out to a pier to get on the harvester. That is pretty much all this. Otherwise, you're into wetland. It's all reeds and wetland, so I don't know how you would do that. It would be, in fact, that side of it, if I remember looking, it's, there's a PRD property line there, and that's where the reeds are. So it's all wetland, I think.
So is that a town pier?
No,
No, we don't have a pier.
there's no pier.
No, it's a,
Well, who placed a pier if it's off the town right away?
There's no pier.
it's,
I thought he said to get onto the conveyor, there's a pier.
there's a place to get on. I guess, is that part of the weed harvester?
Yeah, it's not, it's,
I don't know the details of all this stuff.
R2 is 60 feet wide.
60.
It says 60, but some of that's reeds.
there's no place to, yeah, there wouldn't, well, if you put a pier there'd be no place for anybody to park or fishing pier, and there's no, I mean, it's like 6 feet from the land to the water. I mean, there's no, it's not sloped down, there's no hill or anything you could walk down. And
Thank
then-
you, because I'm sorry, but I have not traveled to see the
Right.
piece of property, my bad.
No, because there's this piece of property that this gentleman owns that he fishes off of. And then then it's just this one, it's basically the end of the road just ends there. And then right after that is the PLPRD, but that's wetlands property, that's all the reeds and marshy stuff.
That was
Thank
the-
you for explaining that.
Yeah, and so when the harvester is parked there, there's very little space. And I don't know how you would get anybody down to up here,
And there's no place to park.
and there's no place to park any cars or anything.
Right. It's really a,
I dropped a kayak in there. I
Pardon?
walked down there and I dropped a kayak in there.
Yeah,
When there's, with the harvester? And the,
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, 60 feet wide. There's a gravel driveway that goes to that shed. It's accessible.
it's accessible, yeah, but I mean, in terms of park, there really wouldn't be any place to park cars though down there.
But did I hear
No,
that
but-
the
but I
driveway
mean,
and the
you
shed
can-
are private property? They're owned
No,
by
the
someone.
the shed is on the property,
It's on the
belongs to
property.
PLPRD.
It's on town land.
It's sitting on the town land, that was part of the original agreement, however long ago, the handshake gentleman, whatever did, you know. And it's just one of those things that's always been there, and it's, nobody's ever, we've not had any complaints. I get a lot of other complaints, but I've not had any complaints about, you know, the harvester being there or whatever.
And it's actually like, road, right?
Right.
are we okay to have a dialogue here on this?
Do you want me to
That-
say something about the survey?
Oh, the what?
Okay.
I don't know what you're thinking. Go ahead. I mean, if you have something to say.
Because, do you want, I mean, the PLPRD would be willing to work with the town in terms of, cost of the survey, if that's part of the concern.
I don't think we'll need a survey if we're gonna do this every 10 years. So
And I
you
think
can
why
take
spend the
no,
money if you can just
you can take
renew
no,
the agreement?
you can take no action on E and then just make a motion on F.
I'm not the expert on it, so I'll take whatever you're trying to do here.
I'm not trying to do anything.
What we have. All right. So is there general agreement, I guess? Make a motion to, I guess, do you have to do any research at this point? Or
We would
just,
check the zoning, just to make sure that we're in compliance. I'd hate for the county to come back and say
right,
something.
One other thing you might need to keep in mind is the board setting a precedent by allowing people to use the town right-of-way for other things.
It's an association, right?
But to
No,
know
it's a
from your
Lake District.
perspective,
It's a lake district.
it's an
yeah.
intergovernmental
Okay.
situation. That's what it is. It's not just anybody, so, what?
Sorry, she had something for Attorney Mills.
Attorney Mills, in your best opinion, is this in the town's best interest to proceed with doing this?
I haven't even seen the area in question,
Nor about.
but if there's been no complaints for 30-plus years, and the building inspector and Department of Public Works have indicated nothing's going to change, I think it's in the town's best interest to have something documented
I agree.
that they've allowed this. Otherwise, people all across the town will start using right-of-ways. So in that respect, yes.
Thank you.
Fall to, like you said, an intergovernmental agreement versus a private citizen.
I do not want to make this motion.
No.
It's,
I know. Since I don't have any interest either way, I will make a motion to authorize Attorney Mills to review and edit the proposed intergovernmental agreement between PLPRD and the town of East Troy for the Lake Lane right-of-way property after zoning is verified
okay.
by.
I was gonna say,
Chairman Jones.
I could check with Joel Cook and say, does he want me to,
You can do that.
do they want him to come across the planning commission or something? But I'm expecting it's probably zoned right with R2. It's probably fine.
I don't know what all the restrictions are for R2, so.
Yeah, I don't know either, so we can look that up. I'll work with Joel Cook. Is that fair?
I mean, I looked it up, but it might need a variance or something.
The what?
I looked it up. It's residential, but it's in a right of way, so I don't know how that impacts.
So, okay, that's my motion.
So, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
What'd you say?
Abstain.
Okay. So then we have Discussion and possible action to review and approve an open bidding process for the town's annual audit of financial books. And I think you brought that to the agenda.
So it's just a suggestion. I think it makes sense from a business standpoint anyways, that you look at your auditor. It's not saying that you have to change it, but at least look at it, or at least put out bids to get various other entities at least looking at it, and it, you know, it may keep your current auditor more honest as well. So I just look at it as it's a good deed or due diligence.
Best practice.
Yes, best practice, to look at that. The one thing that I potentially want to change on this, I guess on my recommended next steps, I put audit committee, if this was to form an audit committee. For a town this size, that's probably very granular. It might be more if there's a finance committee that looks at budgeting, the accounting, the books and records, and that would include the audit. So that might be a better way to phrase that or term that. I don't know if there's any questions.
I know that I looked at the contract and our current contract runs through 2026. So I sort of think that this is premature at this juncture and that this should be better handled by incoming board.
It can be. We can, I mean, I think we can motion to,
I think it's a process, right? So it's gonna take some time. And yes, the audit is already scheduled for 2026. It's happening in a couple of weeks.
No, that's
No, that's
2025 audit.
2025.
Okay.
Yep.
so.
That's the
we-
2025 audit. So then
Right.
the contract is through 2027 for the 2026 audit, is my understanding of the contract.
I think that's my.
So then we would be looking at contracts, either contract extension or contracts for a budgeting season.
In 2027.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to see this because every time I asked, it was like, oh, it's too late. We always use this account, this audit firm. They know our books, they know our processes. You're not gonna get a better price. And so I think it is important to do this. I think it does need planning in advance.
That's the key part.
But, and it is just talking about the idea of a committee, so maybe you could talk a little bit more about the committee.
Chairman, can I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
I have two things to say. One, if the current contract already has an end date, why would you consider doing this anyway? And second, we can't have any sort of vote on a town audit committee because it's not noticed properly for that reason.
Yeah, what we can have is a motion to,
Open bidding.
to go to an open bidding process, right?
Right, but what, I don't understand why the town has never done that in the past when a contract has come to an end. I checked the current contract to make sure there's no automatic renewal type language in it.
Right.
But otherwise, I think you should be doing this anyway.
I don't disagree, but
So
I
that
mean,
sounds like the timing is not right.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it needs to be done right now. I look at it from a business standpoint. So if the audit for 2026 is going to be conducted in the first part of 2027, the groundwork for this needs to be started at least 6 months before that audit is completed. So when the audit is done, that's when the bids go out. Because now you know your auditor's done, they've done their final piece. You want to be ready. I think this goes back to the first meeting I was here when we were talking about insurance. That it just automatically, boom, no one knew about it. That's why you gotta plan this stuff. You gotta have it on your radar 3 months, 6 months prior to the end of the contract. So at least the discussion is happening so everyone knows what's going on.
I agree.
It's just, you know, you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot every time, and yes, this auditor, this audit team does know everything about us, but that's where you get into complacency.
Right.
That's where you get into, I think someone mentioned in public comments, you get into that human nature is the path of least resistance. And if you get into that, the auditor comes and says, oh, is there anything new? Oh, no, everything's pretty much the same. Well, that's not really doing the audit then. That's just relying on what people are saying and what everyone's used to.
Absolutely.
I know you've only sat on the board for a couple months. I'm saying this tongue in cheek. Nothing has been path of least resistance in the last year, it seems like.
Well, for certain things, let me put it that way.
Now, I remember this when I was in the public domain, that I believe it was you,
Multiple times.
you asked for it to be done. There was a song and dance, tongue-in-cheek dance that said no, this, and came back to the next meeting with this only. There wasn't 3 bids, and we just went down this path. So I think with everything, we need to do some kind of competitive bidding just to hold the people we are using accountable. Otherwise, they just jack up the price every year. It's
Same thing with the garbage. We haven't done an RFP in years.
garbage,
Yeah.
insurance, all that stuff. So, and we've talked about it, right?
You just approved a 5-year extension on garbage last year, didn't you?
2 years ago, I believe.
I'd have to look at the contract.
I don't know that so that was, it was 24 probably.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know if anything needs to be done or motion made right now. I just look at it to get it on record then that
Right.
it needs to be planned sooner than later instead of waiting till the last minute.
can we vote
Agreed.
to put this on the agenda for October?
If you want to.
That would be 6 months out, and it would be a good time to start going out and checking out some bids.
I even have 3 firms potentially that would be for the size of East Troy. That could be,
You're just an overachiever, I guess, huh?
until the end.
So, would that be appropriate for the board? I mean, I'm just throwing an idea out there. At least it would be put on the agenda, we would have to deal with it in October. The board, the new board could talk through it.
It's not unlawful, so you can do it.
You can just add it to the agenda.
Yeah, do we need to vote on it, or can we just ask
No,
clerk treasurer
Oh.
Los to make a note of it?
All right,
For
yeah,
October.
just put it on the
Fine.
October agenda.
that's fine, that's good. That's all I was trying to get to. So is that satisfactory?
Yep.
Okay. It might be
Thank
nice
you.
to
And-
get your list.
Yeah, I'll get my list, yeah. I've got the list here and I've got, yeah. I'll
All right,
want me to give that clerk treasurer Jean, or do you want me to give it to one of you two, or copy it? Give it to you
Yeah.
and then make copies, or I can email it to everybody?
Yeah, you can shoot me. an
When's
email.
that gonna get shut down?
Pardon me?
when's this
No,
email?
not until the 11:59 on the 20th.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've got this on an email, so I'll email it to
Okay.
you and I'll let you disperse it,
Okay.
so I don't cause any
Violations?
violations.
Okay, so this is no action. So then we're on to H, motion to authorize Attorney Mills to amend the ordinance updating meeting time for the planning commission. She did have it in here, there's a memo in there from Jen. They-
No, it won't be for May 6th, right?
No.
No, it says the first one's gonna be,
May 7th.
And last month, we had to, or at the special board meeting, we had to change it, May 7th is a Thursday, I think. Yeah, because May 5th is a Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. It's Cinco de Mayo and Taco Tuesday. So that Wednesday, yes, is May 6th.
Perfect. But the meeting is
But
not until the
you won't-
11th,
We won't have another board meeting.
so it won't be in effect until June 3rd.
I can draft an ordinance, making it retroactive
Oh,
and ratifying, you can make an oral motion tonight to change the plan commission meeting date in May to whatever the ordinance is gonna line up with.
the first Wednesday.
does that conflict with that one meeting yet?
Yes,
Yes.
So there is a meeting that's being
The
conflicted,
county.
at the county.
right?
For zoning for the county.
It's a zoning meeting, and it's right on top of a planning commission meeting if this goes into effect. You think there'd be a problem if this just went to June?
Do we know?
I know Jen wasn't thrilled about that.
Going
but-
to June?
But I don't know I'm not aware of this May 3rd meeting that you're talking about.
May
At
6th.
county, is that one where they like teach you about stuff that they did last year
I think it's
too?
Kate Hastings and,
Yeah.
and
Planning commission workshop, so that's meeting.
I
and I
don't
think Jen wanted to go to it.
I was gonna say, I don't think she'd be opposed considering that.
Right. Well, the
I
main
can't
reason for
speak
this, if
for it.
everybody didn't read the memo, it's because with it being the third Wednesday, there isn't enough time to get it to county without a lot of work. So the thought was put it back to the first, and then she has plenty of time to get it to county. And that's, I think, the primary reason, isn't it? Yeah. So,
Has anyone that's coming before the planning commission already been notified of a date?
the 7th.
Not aware of that.
I don't know if we have anything.
And I don't believe that they have to have their stuff in
Until,
until, maybe it was this last Wednesday, but otherwise it would be this coming up Wednesday. But that might have changed with the deadlines might have all changed with the date of the meeting change.
Right.
it was changed to the first Wednesday because we are meeting on the 3rd.
So you
So
guys had already
today-
tentatively changed your date with everybody?
No, because we've been meeting on the 3rd Wednesday.
Oh, yes. I thought you were
The
saying.
deadline is the first Wednesday right now, and so that means there's nothing for April. But then that would be a time crunch for people to submit for May 6th.
Yes.
Just authorize me to do a ordinance starting with the first
June.
Wednesday in June.
Yeah.
May is already listed in today's agenda as May 20th for
Yeah.
the planning commission.
Yeah.
Oh, it's May 20th.
There you go.
I'll make a motion to authorize Attorney Mills to
Yeah.
amend the ordinance updating the meeting schedule for the planning commission to the first Wednesday of the month effective June of 2026.
So we want it effective June.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So it's June.
Because realistically, people wouldn't have time to get their stuff in by May 6th. Today's the 16th. so.
Oh, yeah, we voted, right? We're through, got
Yeah.
the full vote, all right. And then, the police contract, which isn't in the packet, but what happened was when that was put together, dyslexia kicked in and two numbers were flipped, and then it got multiplied and multiplied for the 3 years, and so it was a semi-screwed up mess. So it's really updating 2 pages with those numbers, and I have looked at it, I'm assuming everybody probably has, but I think it is accurate as it's been put.
The signature page for you.
Do we need to approve this? or-
Yes.
Okay, so we do need a motion to approve as modified, right?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the updated police contract compensation tables on pages 8 and 9, I believe they are,
Yep.
as presented.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So I'll give that to you at the end. All right, so then you have the floor.
Okay. First one, under 11A, is Resolution 2026-7. Is an extension of the deadline to file the town's economic disclosure statement for town board candidates. I believe this was voted on at a special meeting. This resolution ratifies the town board decision to extend until March 30th of this year. So this is just written confirmation that there was a variance, if you will, from what the town code requirements are. And this particular statement is not per statute. It's not required unless the town has an ordinance. The town currently has that ordinance, but deadlines had to be extended for compliance. So that's what this resolution is. If you want me to read it, I can. Otherwise, I think I summarized it fairly well.
I think we understand.
I think the only clarification was it does say town board candidates, but past history, it looked like sitting supervisors completed as well.
So, I believe how it reads is that the candidates are required to turn it in within 3 days of submitting their candidacy papers on that deadline day. And I wasn't aware of that form. It had not been collected prior, as I reviewed dates of previous ones. However, sitting board members are also required to complete it by April 30th of that year. So candidates have to do it by the 3rd day after they submit candidacy papers on the deadline, and then sitting board members have to complete it by April 30th for the prior year to December 31st.
And
That's
you
why I
have-
emailed everybody.
Yeah, I have it in the email. I haven't gotten it to you yet.
All right.
I think it came out this week.
That was the discussion, okay, thank you.
You
Clarifying
betcha.
that.
No problem.
Right, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-7, extending the deadline to file economic disclosure statement for town board candidate.
Second.
All right, any other discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
The next is ordinance number 2026-9. It's an ordinance amending and updating section 8.75, the recycling code. This came via DNR mandate with some recent updates. They sent out a sample ordinance that wasn't specific to the town because the town had also included requirements that it wanted its garbage handler to also follow. So there had to be a comparison done and just update with the hand-picked language out of the DNR sample ordinance. And that's what this ordinance includes. Again, everything that is italicized are the updates. Otherwise, the existing recycling ordinance remains.
And so with this, we comply.
Yes, we did get DNR approval for this amendment here.
And this was due 4:30? Is that what I remember, or is it May? 4:30?
4:30.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2026-9 and ordinance amending and updating section 8.75 recycling.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
What happened to 26-8?
That was something earlier
Okay.
that I did not draft apparently. Do you know where 8 was? Oh, no. The resolution is.
Oh, it's a resolution, not
And the rest are
ordinance.
ordinances.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry.
So the next ordinance is 2026-10. It's an ordinance amending sections 16.25.080 Actually, it only needs to be one section regarding commercial user fee. This was a recommendation from Chief Gorecki that the annual fee for commercial users be increased to $300. I believe it was $175 before.
It was.
That's the only change, the amount.
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance number 2026-10, an ordinance amending section 16.25.080 regarding commercial user fees.
I'll second.
So this is 25,080 and 1625,090.
Is the next, actually,
Oh,
ordinance 2611.
I'm sorry, So it's on the same line.
Right,
Okay, we had a second?
yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next ordinance 2026-11, an ordinance amending section 16.25.090 regarding payment of launch fee at kiosk. I'm not sure when that will be up and running, but the chief wanted our ordinance updated to say that payment will be done and accepted by kiosk, and that the same procedure regarding showing that you've paid, you're still going to be putting your receipt on the dash where it's visible.
Yeah.
So that's the only change, what's in italicized language there.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-11, amending chapter 16.25.090, payment of launch fee at the kiosk.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Last one, ordinance 2026-12, it's an ordinance amending section 2.70.020, appointments and use of criminal background checks. This also came from Chief Gorecki. Crime Information Bureau wanted the italicized language that was added here to be included in the town code. I guess is further authorization to the town to perform this sort of check.
It was part of our police audit that's required.
Oh, so they came in and audited us?
No,
It was
we
a
do an
self-audit?
audit and then it goes off to them and they say, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2026-12, an ordinance amending section 2.70.020, appointments, use of criminal background checks.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we have schedules. Want to go through that?
Does anyone have anything to add to what is there?
The only thing I would add is, since you have the first court date listed, if we're gonna start putting municipal court on here, you should have the third Thursday of each month also listed as a court date.
Okay.
When does that run? From 5 to?
5 till it's done?
No, right, until it's over.
And if we
it
have-
varies from month to month.
And if we have special situations, sometimes it's at 4:30.
Juveniles might come early.
Jean, the only thing is the town park meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 13th at 4 p.m.
May 13th, 4 p.m. Thank you, Barb.
Yep.
And you can see the May 6th planning and zoning's on there, 5:38, so definitely would have been a conflict.
Although it also has May 20th.
May,
6th is the county
The-
work.
yeah, May 6th is the planning and
County,
zoning.
that's the county.
Oh,
version.
okay, all right.
So I think we're good, East Troy area.
December 3rd.
We simply put it on there because it came as part of a memo and,
Didn't want to forget it.
right, wanted it in your guys' minds.
Well, then we can put audit. on there.
Yeah.
So, any other questions on dates? So,
I would like to update the audit dates though.
okay,
It is the 6th, 7th, and 8th of May, I believe. I'll confirm that, and we'll make sure that it's correct in the minutes that are posted on the website. But I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
you don't need any of us for this, right? They could just come in and do it.
Sometimes they ask to interview people.
They have
Just-
called.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they will sometimes request an interview.
Okay,
I have to do a letter every year as well.
I
And you all
received that.
receive that.
I received that. Okay. So are we good? Move on to closed session. The purpose of the closed session is to discuss personnel matters, benefits, and to generally discuss compensation for multiple staff positions. So I need a motion to move